Great, and we're live. Welcome everybody to this interview on air. Today I am joined by Patrick Sarfati and Jurgen Appelo, and we're going to be discussing management issues, in particular management issues that are close to France. So I will allow everybody to introduce themselves, and if you have any questions, please ask it through the Q&A on the Google Hangout. All right, Patrick, over to you.
Hello, thank you, Lisette. Hello, I'm Patrick Sarfati. I'm Agile coach for over more than 10 years, administrator of Scrum.fr, and coordinator of the French Scrum user group. I'm as well happy to be a Management 3.0 licensed facilitator. Well, today I have the pleasure to have a talk with Jurgen Appelo to interview him about Management 3.0. And just before that, I would like to introduce how I went through Management 3.0. In fact, I'm CEO of Soft Method Engineering for almost 20 years now, and I'm successfully driving IT companies to have full success on their IT key projects and Agile transformation. Concerning Agile transformation, the key points are not the framework like Scrum, XP, and so on, because they are pretty simple to understand and put in practice. In fact, through the years, I found out two touchy key points are rather, at first, the values and principle, because it touches at the culture of the company, and the middle management, who has difficulty to position itself. For that, we have to help them finding their right place, which is more related to people management, rather than take commitment or decisions or doing instead of the people who should be empowered to do their job. For that, one of my friends, Patrice, suggested me to involve in Jurgen Appelo Management 3.0. And in fact, I found there tools and materials necessary to support the transition of middle management to agility. And now I'm fully involved in this. And I would like to share with you the benefits of that interviewing Jurgen Appelo. Jurgen is a famous speaker and writer. And Jurgen, can you please tell us a bit about what is Management 3.0?
Sure, glad to do that. Hello, Patrick. So thank you for inviting me for this interview. Yes, my name is Jurgen Appelo. I'm from the Netherlands, and I've been writing and speaking about management topics for a number of years. I have just finished my third book on the management and leadership. And Management 3.0 is the term that I use for the kind of management where you treat the organization as a community, as people working together towards a purpose. Where Management 1.0, in my language, is doing exactly the wrong thing. It is treating people like the cogs in a machine. Some people use terms such as command and control or bureaucracy or whatever for that kind of management style. And Management 2.0 is all the fads and fashions that we have seen over the last couple of decades that try to do a better job. And some of the ideas are actually quite good, but usually at the same time still clinging on to the hierarchical mindset where the boss is a more important person than the other employees. And I try to get beyond that, away from it, with Management 3.0. So all the practices and principles that I advocate in my books are about treating the organization as a network of people working together towards a purpose. And that's, for me, Management 3.0.
Jurgen, why did you version it 3.0? You said a bit about 2.0 and 1.0, but why decided to version it 3.0?
Well, the 3.0 number is quite popular. It has been around for a few years. I was actually one of the first to use it, but now we see lots of other books such as marketing 3.0, leadership 3.0, branding 3.0, etc. So we are clearly in the 3.0 age at this time. And for me, as I said, 3.0 is just a metaphor. It is what I use to describe management, where people are treated as a community of workers working together towards a purpose. And I could have used any kind of other word or term, and many other people do. Frankly, lots of current writers and authors do an amazing job with their terminology, and it all is part of the current wave of modernizing management and liberating workers, so that they're basically treated, as I said, as a network and not as a hierarchy. And I use the term Management 3.0 for that.
Thank you. And can we know why you called your last training workout?
Yes, of course. So I believe that the workout idea of doing workout exercises is a great metaphor also for organizations. Everyone knows that it is healthy to run for a couple of kilometers, or to do push-ups, or to do yoga exercises, or well, whatever. Lots of exercises that people can do to have a healthier body and mind, but you have to create your own program for yourself, the program that fits your schedule, that fits your body, that fits your environment. For example, I travel a lot, and I would like to swim, but it is very difficult, because 60% of my time I travel around the world, and I cannot carry a swimming pool on my back. So running for me is much easier to implement. And with management practices, I think it's a bit the same. Organizations should find good practices and turn them into their own training program to have a healthier organization. What I find is usually a problem is when people adopt frameworks or methods or fixed sets of practices, where all of the practices are mandatory. I don't believe that. I don't believe when you have a healthy body or mind that any practice is mandatory, as long as you do some of them, but there are lots of alternatives to choose from. So I try to shy away from frameworks and methods, because people want to implement them next week. And as soon as people start implementing frameworks or methods, then you basically grow an incorrect mindset and approach to management practices, in my opinion. So I prefer discussing principles and practices, and not frameworks or methods. And that's why I like the metaphor of the workout exercises. So I use that in my latest book.
Okay, great. If I understand well, now you are making a world tour about this workout.
Correct.
Can I know now where you are physically, and where do you come from, and what is your next destination?
Well, I just been to New Zealand and Australia last 10 days, and it was great. We had a good turnout in our workshops. About 23 to 27 people in those two cities, in Auckland and Melbourne. Right now I'm at home for 1.5 days. Tomorrow I travel to Canada, to Quebec. And the week after that I will be in Iceland, in Reykjavik. So it's a very busy schedule. I like it. I knew it beforehand, of course, that these months would be very, very busy. I've been to many countries already, and there are only 8 left on the workout tour at this time, and France is one of them, with 2 cities, no less. So Sophia Antipolis and Paris. Yeah. So it would be great if people joined me at either of those two places. And the other countries still on the list are Brazil, Argentina, Spain, and a few more.
Great. As you are traveling around the world, probably you have noticed some cultural differences, key cultural differences towards agile management.
Well, to be honest, not really. I think people are very much the same all over the world. They have the same questions. I always ask people, what are your biggest problems with management and organizational change? They have the same questions, no matter where I go, with the USA or China, Australia or Europe, doesn't matter. There is always an emphasis on cultural differences between geographical regions, but they pale in comparison to the differences between industries or the differences between job types or professionals. So, for example, the difference between a bank and a media company is huge. It is huge, and that is the same difference that you see in the Netherlands versus Brazil. So a bank in Brazil can be compared very much to a bank in France, I'm quite sure. And a media company in Brazil can be compared to a media company in France. So there's a much bigger difference between banking versus media than between Brazil versus France. So we should stop focusing, I think, on geographical differences, and focus instead on how we actually are very similar around the world. Because the ideas that people have in Brazil, they're very, very interesting for people doing work in France, and vice versa. That is why I like traveling around the world, because I meet so many people with great ideas. And I often say I'm like the global bumblebee. I pick up the ideas and I disseminate them all over the world, and everyone can learn from each other. Of course, there are slight differences. France is a little bit special, but China is also a little bit special, and the USA is also a little bit special. But that's just a small part. All the rest is very much the same.
So we will like to learn more during the workout for sure.
That will be great.
I know during the workout you talk a lot about team motivation, how to motivate people, how to motivate teams. And as well, you talk about people assessment or evaluation. Can you tell us about your vision, how companies can efficiently share the results, their benefits, and keep their people motivated?
Can you explain how about companies sharing results? What do you mean there, Patrick?
I mean, what I mean is to keep people motivated. Most companies do some evaluations, and they assess the results of your job, what you have done during the year, and they try to assess it. And as a result of this assessment, you can have some bonuses, or you can have participation to the results, to the financial results of the company.
Okay. So I think what many organizations have wrong is the way they treat people, and also the way they try to assess their motivation and happiness. I'll give you one example. I was in a workshop 1 or 2 years ago with a company, with people from one company, where they said that management was measuring their happiness. And I asked them, how is management doing that? And they said, well, management has a 3-monthly assessment with forms that need to be filled out about happiness of the workplace, happiness about management, happiness about projects, etc. So I asked the people, how do you feel about this measurement? And the people in the room said, I hate it. I hate this kind of measurement. So the way managers were measuring happiness was destroying the happiness of the people. So this is obviously an organization that doesn't get it. Right? It is the measurement itself is part of creating a happy workplace. So to answer your question, the way you assess motivation and happiness of employees is very, very important. You cannot simply measure it with a thermometer without realizing that the thermometer itself is painful, is making people feel annoyed. And good ways of doing it, I offer some practices such as moving motivators, the happiness door. Personal maps is a new practice that I have in my workshop, and you can choose any one of them. Kudo cards, they're all practices that help people feel more motivated by focusing on the good things, focusing on how we are all different in the organization, about getting to know each other. What is often missing is a purpose in organizations where teams and departments do not have a clear purpose. I ask people, what is the purpose of your team? And the only thing that people come up with is making money. Well, that is not an inspiring purpose for anyone, making money, at least not for me. It is nice to make money, but people like to make a difference. They like to make some kind of contribution to the world. So if you don't address those issues with purpose and various practices, then you can measure as often as you want, but people will just report that the measurements are making them unhappier.
Thank you. Can you tell us a bit more about Kudo cards or Kudo box?
Yes, sure. I've learned about lots of organizations where people give each other tokens of appreciation for things that they have done for each other. So anyone can write a card, and I think I can show you some. I have some behind me. 10 seconds. So I have here a couple of cards from my workshop. Look, here's one. Thank you, and many thanks, and well done, and very happy. So these cards are written. These ones were written for me by participants of the workshop. I always try to explain that they have to give them to each other and not to me. But sometimes people like giving me a Kudo card. But the idea is, in a company, you can use such cards as well. You can write a token of appreciation for somebody else who has done a great job. And so, in some organizations, people do them in a box, in a Kudo box. I also learned about companies where people put them on walls. So there's a wall full of Kudo cards. That's also usually what I do in my workshops. So there's a Kudo door or a Kudo wall. And Kudo simply stands for a token of appreciation, a thank you note, basically. And that's all. And it motivates people. That people like it.
Is it supposed to replace somehow the yearly appraisal, or is it supposed to complete it, or how do you see that?
Well, this in itself cannot replace a performance appraisal, because traditional performance appraisals serve multiple purposes. One is motivating people. Well, that is what you can use Kudo cards for. But another is measuring performance. Another is keeping a paper trail about people, keeping a dossier, improving feedback about how people are working, etc., etc. So I believe with performance appraisal that you need multiple practices, where each practice is good at one specific thing, and then the different practices together will be a perfect replacement for performance appraisals. And I think actually that performance appraisals often fail in many organizations because they try to do too many things at the same time. And people should find replacements, but multiple practices for as a replacement for performance appraisals.
I have a tricky question. Do you think money is an intrinsic or extrinsic motivator?
Well, by definition, money is an extrinsic motivator because you give a person something. And the problem is usually when this is in form of bonuses or gifts or whatever that are promised to people for doing extra work, then this leads to dysfunctional behaviors. This has been proven many times in research, quoted by Daniel Pink in his book Drive and Alfie Kohn in his book Punished by Rewards. Financial rewards disrupt collaboration between people, etc., etc. So there's a huge danger there. On the other hand, nobody works for free. So we have to pay people. We have to address this issue of paying people in a fair way, in a way that everyone involved considers fair. Okay. And I have noticed myself that even though money is an extrinsic motivator, if what you get paid for is very much aligned with your purpose, then the amount of money that you earn can still be motivating, because it is a proxy variable for what you're really trying to do. For example, to give from my own perspective, I try to be a better writer and a better speaker. That is my job. I'm a writer and a speaker. So if I earn a higher income with my writing because of book royalties or because of speaking, with the fees for event organizers, then I see that as an accomplishment of me becoming a better writer and a better speaker. Mm-hmm. So it is not the money in itself that is then the motivator, but it is for me proof, when I earn more money over time, that I am becoming a better speaker and a better writer. So it is not the same thing, but it is very close to a measurement of intrinsic motivation.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jurgen. Now maybe another question, and just to introduce my question, I would like to say that I see the management of the last century, what you would call probably management 1.0, is based on the model foreman and worker. The foreman has the knowledge, the worker not. And the worker has naturally just to apply the strict orders without deviating or improvising. What are the recommendations of Management 3.0 model about delegation empowerment?
Well, I think you have a very good point there, Patrick, and this still needs to be done. This difference between those who have knowledge and those who do not have knowledge in terms of making decisions. But the difference is, nowadays in the 21st century, those who have knowledge are the human beings, and those who do not have knowledge are the machines. So this difference between those who are in the know and those who are just executing orders, that is nowadays what we have as the difference between creative knowledge workers and computers. The computers are just following orders. That is the whole difference, the divide has moved from something between two kinds of humans to something between humans and computers. So all the humans involved need to be addressed and need to be treated as human beings who have knowledge, who need to work together in forms of networks and communities. And they sometimes need to delegate work to each other. That is true. And I believe management has, Management 3.0 has become this art of having people self-organize in communities of motivated people, but with constraints, because they cannot just do anything without any consequences. They have to feel responsible for the consequences as well. With freedom comes responsibility, as all writers basically agree with. So that is the art of management, of putting the right constraints on a self-organizing system. So you don't give people the rules, you basically give them the boundaries and tell them within these boundaries you can do anything you want. But beyond these boundaries, somebody else is responsible. And where to put the boundaries, that is very difficult sometimes. And it takes intuition and experience, and it depends on the maturity of the self-organization in the team, the maturity of the manager, etc., etc. that is what for me is Management 3.0.
And if I remember well, during the workout, because I had the chance to do it in Belgium, we exercise it as well through delegation poker cards.
Correct. Yes. So we use the 7 levels of delegation, where level 1 is the command and control. I tell you what to do. Level 7 is complete self-organization and anarchy, no manager involved. But there are actually a number of levels in between. So you can make small steps between command and control and anarchy. There are different levels in between. And most key decision areas are actually somewhere in between. It is not just level 1 or level 7. Those are the easy ones. The art is finding out where to put it in between those extremes. And that requires conversation and sometimes playing games like with delegation poker, which is fun. But having a model is useful because it enables people to have a conversation about this delegation and empowerment problem.
Thanks a lot, Jurgen. Thanks a lot for this interview. I know you are traveling a lot, and thanks for your time. Maybe I would let Lisette conclude.
Well, thank you very much for your interview, Patrick, and they were great questions. So looking forward to see you in Sofia Antipolis and in Paris.
Oh yes, will not miss it.
All right.
Indeed. Thanks, everybody. I just wanted to announce that the Sofia Antipolis workshop and workout, I should say, is on the 26th of November, and on the 28th of November, the workout will be in Paris, and you can find more information at management30.com. So thanks, everybody. This concludes the last Hangout. I hope everybody enjoyed. If you have questions now or in the future, then feel free to tweet at management30, and we'll get those questions answered.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.